Alright, so in the wake of a serious injury, it seems like the Eagles could be preparing to fully unleash a few exciting weapons on the defensive side of the ball, including a rookie who has some crazy potential, and the second-year man Nolan Smith, who has already showed some insane growth this year. Speaking of which, both Nick Sirianni and Lane Johnson had some very high praise for the former Bulldog, as he looks ready to play his best football yet. Meanwhile, Eagles fans just had an injury scare involving Jalen Hurts, but some recent comments from QB1 himself make it seem like he's not too worried about it, although it could be a little bit of a different story for DeVonta Smith. But on the bright side, the Eagles did just see the return of a versatile weapon, so we're going to talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news starting right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles, and the Birds are just a couple days away from heading down to LA to take on the Rams on Sunday Night Football in what will be a battle of two NFC teams that have been winning a lot of games recently and are gaining momentum as we get into the second half of the season. So this is certainly going to be a fun matchup in prime time, but that being said, the Eagles also certainly are the team that has the edge on paper, as they're the ones in the 6-game win streak, they have the better roster, and they also have a history of playing well against the Rams recently on the road, as ever since the franchise moved back to LA, the Eagles are 3-0 against them in their home arena, so hopefully they're able to make it 4-0 this week. And ahead of the game, the Birds may have just received a boost to both their special teams and their offense, as on Wednesday, the Eagles went ahead and made the move to open the 21-day practice window for wide receiver and punt return specialist Britain Covey. And this is a big deal, as Covey has been out ever since he suffered a shoulder injury back in Week 3 versus the Saints that landed him on IR, and at the time that he went down, while he wasn't putting up great numbers or anything like that, he was still statistically the third best wide receiver on this team. So while I wouldn't expect him to come back and make a huge impact right away, I definitely do expect him to have some sort of role on the offense. But more notably, Covey's return also brings a huge boost to the Birds' special teams and specifically their punt return game, as over the past several years, Covey has obviously been one of the best returners in the entire NFL, so getting him back out there is definitely a great thing as well. Although, in all honesty, the Birds have been just fine at punt returner, as Cooper DeJean has held it down quite nicely in his absence, and with how good he's been, it kind of makes you question how the Eagles could just completely stop using him in the punt return altogether. And based on some recent comments from special teams coordinator Michael Clay, there might be a chance that the Eagles use both these guys in the punt return game moving forward.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Cooper, what he's done, not just only as a defensive player, but going back out there and, we kind of had a rough start in Tampa Bay, and that's just on me as a coach more than anything else. But getting him settled in after the bye week, he's done an unbelievable job. But like I said before, it's always nice to have two options. You get a little bit more creative with it, and having both Covey when he does return at some point and having Cooper. So going forward, we feel confident, when Covey does get to come back, or, if it takes a little bit longer, that we have Cooper back there.
It will certainly be interesting to see what exactly things look like at punt returner on Sunday night. But regardless, it's still obviously a great thing to get Covey back, and it certainly seems like he is on pace to make his return this week, as he's been a full participant since the week of practice began for the Birds, so that's definitely a great sign. However, it hasn't been all good news on the injury front for the Birds this week so far, as they've had multiple players miss practice with various injuries, including guys like Bryce Huff, Jalyx Hunt, DeVonta Smith, and Milton Williams. And from that group, I first do want to talk about DeVonta Smith, because I am starting to question what exactly is going on with that hamstring, as this is something that he's now been dealing with for a number of weeks, and it's caused him to miss multiple practices, and a practice probably each week since it happened. Now, fortunately, this injury hasn't kept him out of any games so far, but I think it is at least a little bit unsettling that it's been an ongoing issue for several weeks now, and on Wednesday, Eagles reporter John McMullen tweeted out, quote, "DeVonta Smith has been dealing with a hamstring injury for a few weeks, and the Eagles have typically been managing it throughout the week to get to game day. However, it should be noted that he was limping after the win over the Commanders, so that's certainly not the most reassuring thing to hear, and this will certainly be something to monitor going forward, and I'll be curious to see if this injury is something that eventually does go away later on in the season, or if he's just going to have to battle through it for the rest of the year. And in regards to guys battling through injuries, we've also got to witness that over the past several weeks with Bryce Huff, who of course has also been out of practice, as he's been playing through a hand and wrist injury that, according to Vic Fangio, left his palm and thumb pretty much immobilized. And as you can see over the past few games, he's been wearing this big cast on that hand, but Huff's time playing through this injury has now come to an end, like I talked about in my video yesterday, as it was announced that he would undergo surgery today. So the good news is that he will be back later in the season at full strength to provide a boost to the Eagles' pass rush, but the bad news is that that, he's going to be out for a while, so other guys are going to have to step up in his absence. And one of those guys is also somebody who's been dealing with an injury this week in the rookie Jalyx Hunt. As assuming he does play on Sunday, which I'd probably expect him to, this should be a golden opportunity for him, as with Huff down, he's just the next natural guy in the rotation that could see an uptick in snaps. And Nick Sirianni certainly didn't rule out that possibility.
Hunt takes on a bigger role here.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. We got some guys, obviously, with all these guys, and really like our room. They've been playing at a really high level. We think Jalyx, we obviously, drafted Jalyx because we liked his skill set. Jalyx has been doing a lot of good things on special teams. And so, we'll see how those reps get divvied up, and this week will tell a lot in practice.
I'll be curious to see what Jalyx Hunt is able to do if given a bigger opportunity. As you know, this is a guy who was super raw coming in as a third-round pick, but has showed a lot of opportunities since arriving here, whether that be in training camp, preseason, or his very limited snaps in the regular season. So, personally, I'm excited to see what he's able to do, again, if given a bigger role. And I think the best-case scenario here is that Hunt gets these extra snaps and starts to feel more comfortable and find a rhythm, and then before you know it, when Huff is back, not only is he fully healthy, but then you also got a guy in Hunt who is playing well enough to have a legit role and be a contributor in the rotation at edge rusher. And then all of a sudden you have an Eagles pass rush that has been scary since the bye week, looking even scarier when the playoffs roll around. And staying on the topic of edge rushers, one other guy who no doubt is going to have to step up with Huff out is the second-year man Nolan Smith. And in all honesty, Smith has already been stepping up this season and playing much better than I think many fans anticipated that he would, especially with all the criticism that he was getting before the season started. As Nolan has actually been really productive so far this year, especially since the bye week, and he's done it in multiple ways, whether it be rushing the passer, where he has 3.5 sacks, or against the run, as he's honestly been the Eagles' best run defender on the edge at times this year. And the best thing about Smith's play this year is just that he's gotten better and better as the weeks have gone by, and on Wednesday, Nick Sirianni gave Nolan credit for that, and both him and Lane Johnson praised him for his development and how he's been playing.
Yeah, I think, what a guy that's been able to, handle the ups and downs, not getting a lot of reps early on in his career because of the depth that we had at that position, to now really being a big-time contributor. Patience of everybody, just, hey, it takes time. It takes time. And if you got the right people, like Nolan is, Nolan deeply cares about being good at football. Nolan loves football. Nolan is tough as we got. He's one of the toughest guys we got on this football team. He plays as hard as anybody in the National Football League. And so when you have those characteristics, and he's got great skill, right? When you have those characteristics as a person, you'll continue, if God willing, you'll reach your ceiling. And I think he just keeps getting better because of who he is as the skill that he has and who he is as a person.
Yeah, he's gotten bigger, stronger. So I think he does a good job of setting the edge. I think when you watch the run game, he does a good job of violently attacking guys. He's doing a good job of bowling guys back and really having a counter move to get around the quarterback. So he's definitely developed as a rusher. I think when I look at him, just his body size, his type, he's gotten bigger, a lot more developed than what he was a couple years ago. So a lot more power behind him than he used to have, and he's, you can see it on the field.
How about his arsenal of moves? Have you helped him in learning some different styles?
Yeah, and I think as he gets more experience and plays more, he gets to see more variety of what tackles do. So he knows what moves may work where. But does a good job of setting up with power. He's always had speed, but now he has a more arsenal of moves. But I think his setup with power makes him even more dynamic than maybe what he was.
So that's certainly some very high praise coming from both these guys, especially Lane Johnson, just because of the fact that he's the best tackle in football and he goes against Nolan all the time in practice, so he's got to see that development firsthand, so that should tell you just how much the second-year man out of Georgia has improved. And just overall, you got to give a huge amount of credit to Nolan Smith for just staying patient and continuing to work hard to where he's now living up to the expectations and becoming a very productive player for this Eagles defense. And again, now that Huff is out, this is just an even bigger opportunity for Nolan to put up bigger numbers, and I definitely would not be surprised if he turns it up to another level with Huff out. But now, getting back to the injury report, one thing that was a little unsettling was seeing Jalen Hurts listed as limited on Wednesday with an ankle injury, but luckily for Eagles fans, some recent comments from QB1 make it seem like he should be just fine. And don't worry, we're going to get to that and more in just a minute, but real quick, I do want to say, if you are enjoying this video and you don't want to miss any other Eagles coverage or content just like this coming throughout the rest of this season, then make sure you subscribe and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you're notified instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. Trust me, you guys are not going to want to miss any of the Eagles coverage I got coming on this channel. I cover the Birds pretty much daily here, so again, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Eagles news, this is the spot. So hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. They're both completely free and it takes 2 seconds, so do that, and also hit the like button as well to show some support. If you are enjoying this video, that also really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to 600 likes today. And now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. So as I was saying, Eagles fans got a little bit of a scare on Wednesday as quarterback Jalen Hurts was listed as limited on the injury report with an ankle injury, but luckily it doesn't seem like this is anything to worry about, as Jalen Hurts himself said that this was all part of a larger plan that the Birds had coming off the mini bye week.
It's just a program we had for the mini bye, so I'm fine.
What do you feel like you're getting out of that? Do you feel stronger? Do you feel like it's helping?
Yeah, that's the goal, always. And really, throughout the course of a year, just really making sure you're doing the things you need to do to stay on top of stuff, and that's kind of what we're doing. A lot of other players are doing it as well, so just taking it a day at a time like everything.
So there you go. He said it there. He's fine, and reports say that he's going to be back as a full participant today and tomorrow. However, it is interesting that Nick Sirianni seemed to leak that Hurts had an ankle injury before the Cowboys game when nobody knew about it. And now he's going to go through a program to recover from it coming off the mini bye. So it seems like this injury has lingered on a bit over the past several weeks. So hopefully this mini bye has helped Hurts fully move past it. And who knows, maybe this week, as opposed to another dominant day on the ground, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles will do more of their damage through the air and the passing game. But even if it's not this week, that's something that Lane Johnson knows that they're going to have to do sooner rather than later.
I just think, as we advance, people are going to try to stop the run, so we got to be able to adapt. We got to be able to adjust and, maybe more efficiently than what we did last year.
Look, do not get me wrong. I absolutely love the commitment to the run game, and I love that that's become this offense's identity, and I think they need to keep doing it. But Lane is right that defenses are really going to start keying in on stopping it, and they're going to have to be versatile enough to beat teams through the air as well. So, personally, I have all the confidence in the world that the Eagles are capable of doing that. We've seen it in spurts at times this season, and we've seen it in the past, and I just cannot wait to see it again when the opportunity presents itself. And again, maybe that's this week versus the Rams, but regardless of that, you guys already know that I'm going to be continuing to cover all the news leading into that matchup. So again, if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And again, also drop a like to show some support if you are enjoying this video. It really does help me out a ton. Again, let's see if we can get to 600 likes today. And also leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another Eagles video going over some news from earlier in the week, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.